Hello and welcome to another video on Microsoft Fabric, and in this video we will discuss how to create a date table. We are going to create a date table using Dataflow Gen2 and we are going to set a destination as Lakehouse. We can also set a destination as warehouse, and I've shown you in the past how can you take the data from Dataflow Gen2 by using some other connector which is available, not the warehouse connector. We don't have a warehouse connector, but there is some other connector which can help you in doing that. Now we are going to create a date table, put it into the lake house, and from the lake house we are going to take it to the warehouse, creating a view. So this is the approach we are going to follow. So let's jump onto the Power BI. In the Power BI, I already enabled the Fabric trial, and I have already have a trial workspace where I'm doing all this stuff. Now I want to let you two changes which I have recently seen, and they came seems like only in the last week. One is date data type is supported. Second is when I'm going to create Dataflow Gen2 and I'm trying to refresh it, then what happened used to happen previously where after publish I had to manually refresh. But that limitation has gone away. The moment you are saying it publish, it do refresh the data and load the data. So now you will see those two changes when I'm going to do it, and some of those who watched the previous video will see that difference. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my workspace which is 01 Fabric, and there I'm going to create this table. I have already created a script which is basically a Power Query M script which can create a date table for me, which is suitable for Dataflow Gen2. Dataflow Gen2 also works on Power Query and M language, which I'm going to use here to create a date table, and I'm going to explain you how I'm going to create that date table. So thing which you have to do here is basically you have in your workspace, you have to go to new, which is available here. In the new, you have to choose the Dataflow Gen2, because Dataflow Gen2 have the destination, and we always want a destination to save our tables, because we want to use either a lake house or a warehouse. So now how to create a date table here? For that we need to do is we have to go to the get data, and inside that we are looking for a blank query. And so this is very similar flow. Those who work with Power Query, they know this is how it happens. So here we are going to use blank query, and inside the blank query I'm going to copy paste the code which I already have, and I'm going to explain you that code. So now if you look at the code here, so basically what does this code is doing basically, so each line there is a variable we are defining, and we are doing some operation on that variable. Now if you look at this code here basically, and let me try to give you boxes which are like this. Is I'm defining a start date, then this is I'm defining an end date. So my end date here is basically nothing but I'm taking the fixed local now. This is what I'm taking in, and from there I'm taking out the date. I'm adding 1 year to it, and post that I'm finding out end of year. So it's going to give me next year end date. Then we use list.dates. That's the function which can give us list of date, and to give that it needs a start date. We have given the start date which we have hard coded, and it doesn't need an end date, it needs a duration. So we subtract end date from the start date, so we get a duration. From duration we take out the days, and then we add 1 day because it is going to be 1 day less when we found out the duration. And then the third argument is duration itself. So we give 1 day duration, list.date. We need to give 1 day duration to generate the dates which is having a difference of 1 day. So continuous dates would be generated. Now then I've created many columns. Some of the columns which I created here, you can see start of the month, end of the month, and there are functions available like start of date.start of month, date.end of month. Similarly for month year I use date.toText, and here it is case sensitive. So those who are coming from the DAX world has to remember that Power Query is case sensitive. So YYY, M are capital and YYY are small. Then to create the sort column I have to use the date.year and date.month. So I multiply year by 100 and that add the month. This is a way to create the sort column for month year. Then I have start of week, end of week. We have functions for that. Start of year, end of year. Again, we have functions for that. Start of quarter, end of quarter. We do have functions for that. Now, unlike DEX, we do have function for weeks here also. Now, then we have quarter year. I do have created certain financial year with the calculation using the if. So I have done all that mathematics here. But what I've done, because previously the date time, data type was not the date data type was not supported, I made all of them as date time. So you will see change type and rename column. Now rename column is still now needed because we have to we cannot have space in when we are trying to save it to Lakehouse. Warehouse do allow us spaces, Lakehouse doesn't allow. So I'm going to do is I'm only going to change the data type for one of the things, which is date, which is supposed to be a date actually. So I'm going to do and show you that now this data type is supported. Rest I'm keeping same. If you want, you can actually go ahead and change it. I've changed it into the code, but if you want, you can actually click on that particular column here itself. You can click and you can change the data type. It will add an additional step. So now my query has been created. This is created as query, and all the steps and all the column which I've added are shown on the right hand side. Now what I've done here is I'm going to rename this as a date, and I'm going to call it as a date one table. And so I'm creating a date one table, and I want to write it now to the Lakehouse, and then I'm going to use it at both Lakehouse and warehouse. So I click here, and we have the button of add destination here on the top as well as below. So I'm going to use here the below one, which I already clicked it, and I'm going to say okay, I want to go to the Lakehouse. I want to save this table to Lakehouse. So I give a Lakehouse here. I say next. I'm going to give it as a name date one only. Fabric Lakehouse demo one, and in Lakehouse demo one I was experimenting a little bit, so you will see 2-3 date tables. That's fine. Now I press next, and this is the test which is coming in. Is it going to take the data type date? Yes, it is taking data type date, and few of them are date time, but the script which I've already modified is having it as date time. So I kept rest of the dates as date time, but the date is now a date column, data type column. So now my date table is ready as a workflow, and right now I can't rename it, but once I come back, once I save it for first time, I can come back and rename it. Right now there is no click here to rename on the name Dataflow name. So let me publish this, and one of the changes which you will observe, and while it is refreshing, I'll tell you that when I create it the first time, you will observe the here that there is a button going in here at the start, at the near to the name. Now this is what is publishing right now happening. The moment the publishing finish, you will see a button in this area, the uh, this icon. You will see this GIF here. Instead of this place, the rolling GIF will come onto this place, where it means that refresh is happening. So automatically is going to refresh, and you observe now that this GIF has shifted the place. It means the refresh is happening right now. Publish has already finished, and to confirm that, you can go to the three dot and you can go to the refresh history, and you will see this is coming in progress right now. So now what is happening, the data flow has published, and as soon as it is published, the refresh is happening. Now previously we need to manually kick off the refresh. That was the behavior. Now this behavior has been very recently changed. So two things we are seeing here: data type column has been supported, so we can have date, not need to have date time. And the second, we now have the automatic refresh after the data flow has been published. So it's going to finish, and once it is going to finish, we are going to see this table in the Lakehouse, and what we are going to do is we are going to join it and with our table, and going to create one time intelligence formula and going to analyze that on Power BI. Then we are going to create a view onto the data warehouse and going to use the same table. So we want to minimize that. So we will show you how you can view the things across, and that's where we are going to utilize it. So now it has finished, the icon has gone, so we can click on the three dots and say refresh history, and you can see it is succeeded. That's really important, it should have a success. So now I need to go to my Lakehouse, and once I go to my Lakehouse, I need to see the table. Now sometime what happens when you go to the Lakehouse, immediately after that you might see a staging undefined. That's fine, it take just little bit of time to get it refreshed. So you just refresh it, maybe few seconds, and it is going to appear. So we called it date one, so that's here. uh, when you see it here, you might not feel any difference because it's showing very similar to date time data type. Now the next step, now I got my date table. What is the next step in Power BI? We go and uh, correct our model, or we will join it with our tables having the dates and want to use this. So what I'm going to do, on the right hand side top, I'm going to go to the SQL endpoints, because from the SQL endpoints I can go to the model. So here you, it is Lakehouse, it is showing. We go to the SQL endpoint. The moment we reach to the SQL endpoint, you will see below we an option for the model, and we will be able to use that. Now you can, if you want, you can run a SQL query by joining the two tables. That's optional. But here is the model. So I will go to the model directly and want to analyze this data directly on Power BI. Now you can see I already tested it few times, but my date table is on the rightmost corner, and because I've done couple of time, I know where exactly it's going to be lying. So I bring it here near to my model, and from my sales table I'm going to bring in the sales date and going to drop it on the date of the date one table. So here is my sales table, and in this I have sales date. Now let me make sure both of them are visible together. I drag it and drop it on the date. It's going to show me sales date 1 and sales date, column date, and then this is these two. I'm joining, and you can see the join has been performed. Okay, I do have tried from the date side to date sales date time. It was showing error at that time of the data type, but in case I'm doing it the reverse way, means from the many side to one side, it's not showing me, and do exist, date one do exist. Now also I want it to low because I want to do some time intelligence, and that is where it is critical. I would like to mark it as a date table. So now I see for that option, and that option is not enabled right now. And I tested it in the past. Seems like this option is right now not available, at least at this place. When we'll go to warehouse, we'll check that out. Now I have a date table. I should be able to create some time intelligence formula. So I'll click on the sales here. Um, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new measure, and that new measure would be MTD. And I'll say calculate sum of sales MTD equals to calculate sum of gross sales amount, comma, dates MTD date 1 dot date. Please remember uh, that these are the few rules. Your date table should be marked as date table. Right now that's not possible. It's still going to work out. The date table which I'm using in the formula and the date table which I'm going to use in the visualization and slicer should be same. Otherwise the time intelligence might not give the proper result, because I have multiple tables, so I need to take care of that. And it is good that I'm showing you that scenario. Those who are not from the Power BI world, we might not do that if they have multiple date tables, and there could be n number of reasons for having multiple date tables. So if you have that, you need to take care of that. So now our model is ready. We do have a measure, MTD measure, and we would like to go ahead and create a report. To create a report in the model view itself, you will see this new report button. If you already have an existing report, you can go ahead and do it there. You can refresh the model and you will get it. But I'm going to create a new report here. Now this will open a new report for me, and in this report you can see, I can see date T1. I will go scroll down a little bit, and from there I'm going to bring in month, year, sort column, which is in a sorted position way. And I'm going to bring in from my sales table, I'm going to bring in the gross, the simple gross amount measure, and I want my MTD measure. I'm expecting, okay, so now month sort I need to see. Now let me see from where it is coming. So it is coming from date T1, and I said that, for time intelligence we need to take care that it's coming from the same table. So that's really important here. And so now let me bring it from the same table. See, your normal measure will work, but if you bring in something from different table, your time intelligence will not work. Now it is working. So that's important with time intelligence measure. Please remember, the measure should use, the slicer should use, the table or the visual should use the same date table. And you can see it's working on date 1 because our measure is on date 1. Now, before I save this report and wrap up and go to warehouse, I would like to know, is the MTD working as MTD? Because that I will be able to see when I bring in date and when I bring in the MTD measure. Date from the, and let's also bring in gross amount so that we can see accumulation is happening, and you can see that accumulation is happening. last date of the month, it should match with this one. This is matching. Similarly, November, if I go 30th November, the number should match with the November 156, 156, and then there is a reset happens on every start of every month. So we are able to do this. Now we are pretty much satisfied. It's working fine. We are able to do time intelligence. So let's save it TI Lake report 2. And now I would like to jump to the warehouse and see if I can do the same job in warehouse. So I'll go to my Fabric 01 workspace, which is on the left hand side. It's already been shown, and this is the new feature which is there in the those who are from old Power BI, they don't see these kind of icons, which recent icon which is there. So now we are having a recent icon, and I'm going to go to my warehouse, which is my warehouse 2. And in my warehouse 2, all I'm not going to bring this table in. I'm not going to use pipeline. I'm not going to use Dataflow Gen2 to bring this table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply create a view. I've already done it for another table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that script. So I go here in the view. I already have this one. So I right click on this and I say, give me the create script. I'm going to use the same create script. Let me take this out, and I'll tell you interestingly, I'm going to create a new one. And see, even though if I not do it, I observed last time, select star from, start showing me the Lakehouse demo 1 dot dbo dot date 1. It is showing me actually, and I can query and check it out. So even if I don't remember now, this is the good thing. This is one of the best thing I've seen, that now it is suggesting me the Lakehouse table, so it's become really easy for me. And the syntax there, I can copy paste and check it out, but now because it's suggesting, I can simply go ahead and do this. So the syntax is create view, and I want to create it here dbo dot date 1 as. Okay, and let me run this. It has completed successfully. I'll go and refresh my views. As I refresh my view, I'm expecting I will see a date 1 table here as a view, not as a table. So I have a view here, and I can click here and it should show some sample data to me here, and it is showing fine. Now I can go to the model again, just like we have done there. I will go here on the model view, and in the model view we would like to join this table with our sales table. Same way, I have the same model here. This is the same model I'm showing you for quite some time on all my videos, especially related to where the Fabric ecosystem. Now we need to have a sales date here, and we need to have a date here, and we are joining it. Now another thing which we are going to try out once this join is successful is, can we mark it as a date table? So I go to date 1, I click here, and interestingly it is showing me mark as date table available here. And I say mark as date table because that is something we Power BI guys prefer to do. So what happen actually when you mark it as a date table, it do check that do you have the continuous dates or not, and it's going to mark it as a key column also. So by default it is going to be marked as key column, and you will not get date hierarchies. This is one of the important thing which happens. The column which is participating in the join will not give you date hierarchy, and then if a column has also been marked as a date of the date table, it will not give you the date hierarchy. And I personally don't prefer the date hierarchies. Those who are from the Power BI world understand that we have date dot something where we can get the inbuilt hierarchies which we can use. Now some of those things would be little bit different here in the Fabric data set, so expect these kind of differences. Now I click on my sales table again. I want to create a measure here because I would like to test it out. Again I'm going to create an MTD measure here, and this time I'm going to call this one also MTD, and I'll say calculate gross sum of gross sales, sum of gross amount, and dates MTD date 1 date, parenthesis close, enter. Okay, now let's go and create a new report. We got our measure created, our data set is all set. with the date table marked as date table. So why don't we go ahead and explore a report on our warehouse where the date table is coming from a different lake house, which is available in the same workspace. Now the first report which we are going to create, and this time I'm taking care that I don't use the date from another table. So I'm taking it from date one, and I go to the sales table, which is at the end. I'm hopeful that I joined with that only, and I'll bring in the gross. And if the join is correct, it should show me different amounts and different months, and they should be different from grand total. Okay, that seems correct, and my grand total is also correct. I'll bring in MTD, and I should see the same amounts here. MTD amount will not be different from my month year amount. Same number I'm seeing. Now the next thing which I need to do here is basically I need to bring in date, and I need to see if my MTD function is working correctly. So I bring in MTD, the month till date function, and let's validate the data on the end date. Reset on the first and end date should be similar to this one. Fine, working fine. 1156.214, 1156.214. Reset on the first date, that's fine. So it is also working. Let's save this report and call it as warehouse TI report 2. Enter is not working. Let's click on the save. So why don't you go ahead and try these things out? I'm going to give that script, either I'll load it on the GitHub, or I'll see if I can paste that in description. So go ahead and try that out, and do let me know what else you want me to cover in this particular series. Thanks for watching this particular video. Thank you.